Hey, what's up guys? JB here. Now, once upon a time in War of the Visions lands, there was a player I respected very much by the name of Desert Maverick. I'm sure some of you out there may remember him. And he had a series on his channel called The State of the Game, where he would speak truth to power and sort of give his take on the overall health of the game, things that he liked, things that he didn't like, things that he thought could change. And he would do that to try to help improve the game for everyone. Now, sadly, I don't think Desert plays the game any longer, but in his tradition, I'm going to be making my own State of the Game video today. Instead of commenting on the game as a whole though, I'm going to speak today on the state of all things within the match battle game area, and I'm going to comment on the current state of class match as well. Now, even if the match battle game area isn't your favorite, I hope that you'll stay with me today because I think that some of these things that I'll have to say do have direct or indirect impacts on you as well. So with that said, let's get into it. And the first thing that I want to talk about and say is that class match is in trouble. And sadly, I am not joking about that. If the Japanese side is any precedent for us, and I think after 2.5 years of this game we can all agree that it is, we're about to enter a period where the Japanese side didn't see class match at all for a 4-month plus period. And in fact, it was only just announced today that class match is finally coming back to the Japanese side. And this is really what has spurred me to create this video here today. Now, people who love this mode are already kind of discontent with it, just because it's moved to a once every other month schedule. In fact, we've already lost quite a few long-time and passionate players simply because of that. So it just completely disappearing for 4 months or more is just completely untenable. I think there is a large segment of the auto community that really likes class match as well, just because it's so different and unique from any of the other PvP modes that we currently have available in War of the Visions. So I'm sure if you're one of the folks in that camp, you're probably not too happy to hear about this news either. So we'll kind of just have to wait and see what happens in the news this Sunday. This coming week is where we would be anticipating the next class match season to begin, and we really at this point just don't know what Gumi is going to do. So how can this be resolved? Now, I don't know exactly all the reasons why class match hasn't been running for the last 4 months on the Japanese side, but as they always say, global is its own game. So I think the answer in that case is very simple. Just keep running class match on its current bi-monthly schedule as it has been. I know that a lot of the die-hard CM players out there would like to see it come back every month as it used to be, myself being one of them. But at a minimum, let's keep it as it has been on its bi-monthly schedule, rotating along with the quick pick mode. Now, I don't know if they've had issues running it because of rule set reasons on the Japanese side. Of course, we always love to see new and interesting rule sets implemented there. But to be honest, I think we would rather see an old rule set reused rather than not see class match run at all. To tack onto this, another thing that a lot of people have been requesting is that the quick pick mode add a manual option for playing it. Once upon a time, the class match mode was manual only. And honestly, I do think it was better then, but I do realize that's my own personal view. And I know a lot of folks just don't have the time or the interest to play the game manually. And I think that's fine. It's great to have different options for different players. But there actually are a lot of us out there that do love to play the game manually. And that's really the only reason that we play the game. And unfortunately, within Quick Pick, we just don't have that capability. So there is precedent for this. As we'd seen in the past with Class Match, they did change that up for the auto community. So I hope Gumi will consider doing the same for the manual community when it comes to Quick Pick. And the mechanism is already there to separate the auto players from the manual players. So I really think that this is a win-win. If that was implemented, I think it would actually be the best of both worlds at that point. Manual players out there would again have monthly content that they could look forward to and play as we would continue to rotate between Quick Pick and Class Match. Alright, so moving on to my next problem. And I think everyone out there can agree that it's good to feel like you're working towards something or have some sort of progression within gaming. Now, within the match battle game area, we do have some form of that. We have equipment that we can work towards with the Hermes sandals and platinum armor. Along the same lines, the Sage's staff, which you grind through arena, I'm going to throw that into the same bucket. And all of those items have actually been in the game, since the very beginning. So that actually leads me to problem number 2. And this is something that impacts the auto and manual PvP player alike. This equipment is just far too difficult to obtain. After more than 2.5 years, next to nobody has this equipment completed at a +5 or +6 level. I'm talking small handfuls of players have been able to achieve this, if that. In fact, I've only personally heard of maybe 3 or 4 people being able to do this at all. And even then, it's only 1 out of these 3 items. This is just an absolutely ridiculous situation in my view. And I believe, in turn, the community at large has really given up on the idea of achieving this equipment. implement. And I think that in turn has caused much disinterest and general malaise towards the daily free match play in general due to the lack of tangible and achievable rewards. As a result, the queues to play that mode are suffering in a big way as well, oftentimes taking a very long time to queue and find other players to match against. And unfortunately, that is just exacerbating this problem even further. So how can we resolve this situation? And my proposed solution here is going to be a multi-pronged approach, and I think these ideas wouldn't be very difficult for Gumi to implement whatsoever. And it all starts with enhancing the PvP medal accrual for all players. Both through monthly events like the class match or quick pick that we've mentioned. They could very easily implement challenge missions for every month. It would hand out maybe a couple recipes for each of those items through monthly participation missions for a free match. I think that would go a long way for people being able to achieve these items. The small handful of recipes that they hand out via the grand season rewards are just laughable when you think about having to acquire 64 of these to complete a +6 item. And even then, those recipes are only handed out if you're a top-end competitive player. My second thought is, we just need to create more hype and focus around free match so that there's actual interest for people to start queuing up and playing the mode. Those monthly missions that I just mentioned would be a good start. I think another way would be to start what I would call a practice week for free match. And what this would be is the week before class match or the quick pick event shows up, the entire previous week leading up to that event is this practice week. And the rule set and the map from the forthcoming PvP event would be active within the free match mode. And that in turn would allow you to test out compositions and strategies for the upcoming PvP event. And I think that alone would be incredible for this mode. I think it would create a lot of new interest and hype and a reason to actually play it. To entice people even further to play, I think that's the week that you implement your bonus medals for playing free match. And to be honest, the ×5 medals that we're seeing today just isn't enough to get people out of bed. Remember that we need more than 300,000 of these medals just to complete one +5 or 6 item. It's absolutely insane. So I'd propose a 10 times medals for that week, and then I think we're talking. While we're at it, remove the lame win streak mechanic from free match and just make it participation based in terms of getting your medals. I think that's going to encourage some fun and some experimentation in the mode and not have people worrying so much about losing their win streak and hence losing out on a bunch of medals. Because honestly, I think that's what that free match should be about, for that fun and experimentation. And unfortunately, that win streak mechanic just encourages people to run cheese comps to get easy wins, to sort of min-max the pittance of medals that they're currently getting. So I do think a combination of these things would really start easing the grind towards working towards one of those +5 or +6 PvP items, while also just making free match a lot more fun in general. Now my last point here I think would be really fun too, because honestly I think that free match is just so forgotten at this point by the general player base, mainly because it's just been abandoned for so long. And I think what we would do is add in a new piece of PvP equipment, maybe do that for every grand season. I think that would be pretty cool. And that's going to create a lot of new discussions about that new item, especially if it's a very good one. And I think that's really another easy way that you can get people back in there and start playing again, just because they have something new and interesting to work towards. All right, that's going to lead me to the last problem that I'm going to talk about here today, and that's that the friendly match mode has been seemingly abandoned at this point. Other than new maps, sort of occasionally being thrown in there, nothing really new has been added to this mode, since the spectate function was introduced. And to be honest, this mode has more or less been the same thing since day one of the game. There's no customization options in terms of setting up the game or defining rule sets or restricting different things. So it's really just bare bones in what you're able to do and enforce within friendly match. On that same note, the spectate mode is just very flaky and unreliable, and that really has an impact on shoutcasting in particular. It's really not uncommon to have disconnects from the client while spectating. The latency can get very bad, where the action really slows down or then speeds up, or maybe just stops altogether and then really needs to quickly catch up after that. It can be very jarring if you're trying to spectate this, and even more so if you're trying to entertain and shoutcast for an audience in a live setting. So how can we fix these issues? And my first one here, I think honestly is one of the best things that you could do for War of the Visions, and that would be to add drop-down menus to customize your friendly match experience. And you could customize it with various class match or limited PvP style rules, toggle whether CT effects are allowed, maybe toggle different resistances or different types of damages up or down. Things that we see customized, across the various PvP modes, but just aren't able to do ourselves. It's really fun to think about the interesting combinations that we could come up with, if this were exposed to us within the game game client. And that in turn could be used for tournaments or for streaming or maybe even just for fun or practice between friends. This seems like such a no-brainer and easy win for Gumi. You know, multiple communities at this point, including Oron J's Friday Night Fights, the Let's Talk Tactics podcast, rest in peace boys. Both of them eons ago have requested a feature just like this. And to be honest, I've even seen this posted on Reddit and requested there as well. So why isn't this in the game already? Why hasn't this been talked about in one of Hiroki's videos or in the Frontlines news articles? The logic and framework for this is already in the game today. Gumi, you use some form of this in terms of creating monthly PvP events, so simply expose those rule sets to the players within Friendly Match. Let the PvP communities run with that. I think you'll be amazed at what happens. The hype that could come from this type of feature and what the content creators would be able to do with it is immeasurable. But do it quickly. The general interest in malaise is already setting in amongst the various communities, so we really need some hope or something to look forward to there soon. Now the second piece here, in terms of the spectate feature, obviously that's a lot more technically challenging. I get that. But these tournaments that we put on, we want to be able to spectate that and shoutcast that with a near real-time experience and have it look professional and engaging when coming across a stream. So I do really hope improving that experience is something that's being talked about and is on the radar, maybe in a roadmap for the future. And I would really love to see topics like this talked about in Frontlines or maybe even an official video in the future. Alright, so wrapping up here, guys, these three things that I talked about here today are really just scratching the surface on this topic, because honestly, I feel like the ones that I covered today are really the most realistic. The framework, by and large, for a lot of these things is already within the game, and I don't think it is a big developmental ask. In fact, I think most of the things that I talked about today are more of an operational or planning style effort. There are so many other ideas that myself and others have that could take these game modes to the next level, but I will save those ideas for another day. All of the things that I included here in today's video, I put here because I believe that they're relevant or tangential for the PvP community at large, no matter what mode that you play in. I think if these things could be improved, we have so many great content creators for this game. We would be able to create amazing new content, new and exciting tournaments, with even more unique rule sets than we can today. And that's really just going to spark hype and more long-term interest for this game in my view. Alright, so I said my piece, and obviously I'm really passionate about this topic. I made the video here today, and that is my part. But now I am calling on you guys out there. It's on you now. If you love Class Match, if you love Manual, if you would like to see the Match Battle game mode improved in general, or if you just love interesting and evolving PvP in War of the Visions in general, this is a call to arms for you. Smash that like button. Light up the comments section with your ideas. Let's let Gumi know exactly how much that we don't want them to abandon this mode, but in fact, we want them to keep it around and keep it vibrant by enhancing it. And honestly, they really need to do this yesterday so that we don't continue to bleed more players and lose longtime friends and have that general sense of disinterest and malaise for the match battle mode and have that continue to fester and grow. Other content creators out there, I'm challenging you now too. Put this video on blast. Make your own video and react to my points and maybe add some of your own. Let's create some noise and create some meaningful change for a game that we all love. Now, if you're still with me at this point, I want to thank you very much for watching, and that's really all that I have to say for today. So as always, stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one.